Hey, so I really didn't want to make this video. It's kind of gross, and we've been having an issue with our Samsung washer for between 1 and 2 years, and we were actually going to go buy a new washing machine, and we priced them out. They were anywhere between about $750 to $950 for a similar new competing brand washing machine. So we have a Samsung. I made a video a year or so ago. Saw that there were 14,000 plus people that viewed that video, which means our issue, we're not alone in the problem, and it seems like it's a really highly Googled or searched thing. So today we disassembled the washer and we cleaned it, and we have been trying to clean it like crazy for quite a while, and the only thing that will fix it is to disassemble it. So that sounds really intimidating, but I wanted to encourage you guys, watch the video. You're washing your clothes in mold and mildew if you are smelling mold and mildew, and the Samsung washer does not have an adequate clean cycle to fully clean itself once you get to that point. So what happens is you have detergent, fabric softener build up inside, and you're going to see that further in the video. But I just want to encourage you, there are only two tools you really need. You will need a Phillips screwdriver and a 10mm socket. That's it. It's really helpful to have two people, but otherwise it's pretty straightforward. And you know, after I did it today, nowhere near as intimidating as I thought it was. So please watch the video if you're having dirt or mold and mildew issues show up in your washer. Thanks so much. Enjoy the video. Okay, so what we've done, this is a Samsung washer. It's about 6 years old, and we have run cleaning tab after cleaning tab of a fresh cleaning. It's a tablet that you drop in. You can run them once a month, and it helps clean out the tub. So what we eventually have done now, we actually zip tied this up because it doesn't support itself. It's not hinged at the back. You just lift up on the entire lid after you've taken a few screws out, and that's it. So we're supporting that. Once you pull it off, you can get to the tub. It's only a few screws to pull off the plastic ring that's on top, disconnect those hoses, and inside you can see we have run cleaner after cleaner, but the Samsung washing machine only fills its tub about halfway with water during a clean cycle. And you can see that fresh tabs have done a good job where they can get, but this whole top portion, the water never gets above here, ever. I mean, it just will not fill above that point. So all of this, let me go out to the garage here. So going outside to the garage where we've removed this tub, not very heavy, not very difficult, but you can see underneath this area that you would never get, you can never get while this is assembled. That's inside the machine. In the last week, we ran 5 of fresh tabs, probably 10 cleaning cycles to try and get that buildup off, and it just will not come off. And the problem is, I believe it's an overtime thing, buildup of fabric softener, but this is probably a 2 or 3 hour job, and that is what is on your clean clothes inside your Samsung washer. Okay, so skipping to the cleaning part. So what I've done, this is just a regular kitchen sponge. As soon as this mildew or whatever it is, I believe it's residue from like fabric softener and cleaner, over time, obviously this is built up, but as soon as it's dry, it's impossible to get off. But as soon as it gets wet, it just wipes off. It takes almost no scrubbing, very, very little. I'm not even using a legitimate cleaner. I'm using like a 409. Just anything that gets it wet. You could probably just use water at first, but the big thing is you want to make sure you get all the residue from the cleaner off as well, so that it doesn't encourage mold to grow back. But that is how simple it is once it's apart. But it does not come off just running water on it. You could run water on it all day and it will not just rinse off. It has to have either pressure or physical scrubbing. All right, so I have taken this filthy tub out to my yard, and you can see it's perfectly clean inside. You know, it looked fine in here, but we were getting chunks of mildew and mold in the clothes. But I went to carry this, and listen, there's water in here. So from a layman's standpoint or perspective, you really can't see anywhere that should be holding water. But let's just take this thing down here to the hose. So what we're doing, literally just spraying this with water, getting it wet. You can see getting it wet does not remove the mildew. Normal pressure from a standard hose does not do much. So what I'm doing is just soaking this mildew because it comes off the moment it gets wet. We actually switched to a citrus-based cleaner inside just to make sure we're really getting things clean. Bleach, citrus cleaner, that all works, but you just have to get it wet and wipe it. Guys, this is not being nasty. This is not an area that you physically can reach without disassembling the washing machine. If I was watching this on YouTube, I think, what a nasty SOB. I promise we have cleaned this thing to death. These are areas that you just cannot get your hand. You cannot get a normal scrub brush. This is the actual metal drum, and it is surrounded by a plastic drum. So if you knew that you could get to this thing and what was underneath of it, you might be pretty grossed out. I'd literally just sprayed this a little bit. You cannot reach this area without disassembly. So what we're going to use Oxygen Orange, just a citrus cleaner. Again, just going to spray a little bit on here. I mean, almost no pressure. You don't want to scrub this with anything rough that could leave scratches and cause mold and mildew to cling and build up more in the future. This machine's approximately 6 years old. Family of 4. Used as a laundromat. But if you are smelling mold and mildew inside your washing machine, particularly this is a Samsung high efficiency. This was top of the line 6 years ago. This was the largest residential washer they had available at a standard store like Sears, I believe. But look at that. I mean, this is just caked on. You cannot get this off with any of the store-bought cleaners that we've tried, particularly because, again, the Samsung wash cycle, you can see the line on the tub. During its standard clean cycle, you can see that this is actually fairly clean up to about here. That's about how high this drum fills with water during a clean cycle. Everything else, it just won't come off. All right, I'm going to get this scrubbed up and then we'll start putting it back together. Okay, so I just spent about 15 minutes scrubbing this thing down to get it pretty much clean. But what I've noticed is that this plastic ring actually has water inside of it. And it's sloshing around. I'm this far, I may as well completely disassemble it and see what's inside. So as you're doing this, I do not have the ability to get those to separate. I'm not sure if it's crimped on or what's going on with it, but I can't get the metal and the plastic to separate. I've taken all the screws out. But once I got the screws out, I realized there's still plenty of areas that I could not get just looking at this vertically. So laying this on its side, I'm going to do a final wipe, final clean inside the garage, but just using some stainless cleaner, basic 409 cleaner. I'm going to do a final wipe of this with the screws out just to ensure there's no mold left. Then we're going to take it inside in the garage and clean it on a blanket so we're not scratching it. You do want to be very careful
not to scratch or dent this while it's apart. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause more mildew to grow, and any additional surface, any additional texture is going to encourage mildew to stick to it. So apparently I've been doing it the hard way. My brother's here with a super soft bristled brush and a drill. So all those little crevices, let's zoom in here. Those little areas that you can't get into easily. That spot right there, right there. Now when I'm not cleaning, I'm a perfect backseat driver. Look at that, you missed the spot. So since I could not successfully remove this ring, you want to be careful not to just put everything back together, because inside from the top, there is still a layer in there. It's very difficult to see with how bright it is, but yeah, having a drill brush up in here in that little gap, you can't get that with a paper towel very easily, or a regular sponge or rag. Quick work of it. So that would have been the quick way to do the whole thing. This ring over here, you can see he just hit it with the brush. Took like 1 or 2 minutes. I would have taken forever with a sponge. So, quick tip now that we're almost done, and I spent about 15 minutes scrubbing that, that big drum. Alright, there's that inside ring. Look at that thing. Massive difference. I'm going to get this thing sprayed down and cleaned up the rest of the way. Why didn't I have this sooner? This is where it's at. Like, that was might want to put the link where you can buy this for $10 or whatever off the internet. Yeah, this really was a lifesaver. Let me go ahead and rinse this out with a hose, and I think it'll be just about ready. Okay, we're getting ready to put everything back together, and I wanted to just make this quick view of how things actually look clean. And you know, that piece of metal down there is going to be rusted. You can't change that. But you can see that this really, it's super clean now, ready to go, but it just had that buildup, and it would not come off even with the self-clean cycle without physically disassembling it. So if you smell a mildew smell and you're putting in tabs every month, you might need to actually disassemble your washer. All right, we're going to put things back together. Let's get to it. So I don't know if you noticed, he went back and forth in a star pattern, sort of like you would a rim, just to make sure that it was centered and really drawing it in right. Well, he's got some guide tabs, so it's probably not necessary. An abundance of caution. Alright, this thing goes back on with just a handful of screws. We'll get this put back together. And there's one final 10mm lug sticking up. we'll get this thing back together. Thanks for watching this. This has definitely been a source of frustration for us, for my wife, especially over the last year or two, as we just have not been able to get this machine clean. And everything is back together, assembled. It still has a little bit of a musty odor, but everything is as clean as you could possibly get. Obviously, you can't clean inside the water lines, the supply lines very well, or the drain. So what we're doing now, we've cleaned everything to the best of our ability, reassembled it, and I'm running a rinse cycle just to ensure there's none of the harsh cleaners we used, citrus cleaners, 409, that sort of thing, just to make sure that's not getting in our clothes. So I'm going to let this run one final time, and hopefully from here, using the Fresh tabs or a similar monthly cleaner tab, will fix the machine and just keep it from building up that mildew in the future. But if you're having an issue and you're noticing flecks of mildew, you can see what's actually washing with your clothes when we fully disassembled it. So this is just a 22-minute rinse cycle. We'll see how it does, but thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. We definitely did not show complete disassembly. I think it was 3 screws to take the top off. So pretty quick, pretty easy once you knew what you were doing. Start to finish, we started just before 2 o'clock. It is 4:05, so 2 hours start to finish. Not too bad. Thanks again.